To make matters worse, when she was halfway up the hill, the heavens decided to open and a tumultuous explosion of water showered down on top of her. Guess what? No umbrella. The day was turning into a disaster, she thought, as she trudged up the crest of the hill. The rain, in its infinite wisdom, became more intense, and Sophie actually ran along the drive and through a packed car park. The call centre itself was quite small. She had envisioned a towering block, but in reality it looked more like a country hotel. She wiped at her damp face with a tissue and smoothed beads of rain off her hair before pushing through the revolving doors that took her into an impressive marble lobby. Sophie glanced at her reflection in a wall of mirrors. She looked windswept, and that was putting it mildly. As she was looking around for a toilet to spruce herself up in, a snooty receptionist inquired if she could help her. "I'm here for an interview," Sophie gasped. Her breath was shallow after her sprint up the embankment. "Fill this in, please." The perfectly coiffed employee thrust an application form towards her. "You do have a pen," she snapped when Sophie paused. "Oh, yes, I'm fully prepared." Sophie bit the wall of her right cheek, a punishment, she told herself, for fibbing. Then the telephone rang and the receptionist turned her haughty attention to what sounded like an irate customer. She turned away from the desk and made her way over to a tan leather sofa which enveloped her as she sank down into it. Sophie pulled herself upright, crossed her legs and delved in her handbag for a half-chewed biro. As she was filling in the form, a few other people filtered in. A man and two younger-looking women were given forms to complete and came to sit beside her on the sofa that was more like a bed. When they had all completed their applications and handed them back into Mrs. Snooty, they were made to wait in silence for another half an hour. At one point, Sophie did attempt to initiate a conversation, but was given such a withering look from the robotic receptionist that she fell silent again. Finally, they were led through into a posh-looking meeting room that smelt of polish. A man was sitting at a computer tapping away. He was wearing an expensive-looking suit and reeked of cologne. His name tag revealed him to be Andy, head of HR. "Howdy, folks." He had an unmistakable American accent and the whitest teeth Sophie had ever seen. They all said a polite good morning. "Please sit down." Andy motioned to the chairs which had been placed in a strategic circle. Sophie's stomach squelched with nerves. The fear of the unknown gripped her as she wondered what they would be expected to discuss. She had presumed she would have a short informal interview with one person, maybe two. Now, the realization that this was a group interview heightened her nerves. "Please don't let me make a complete prat of myself," she prayed inwardly. Andy pulled a board into the centre of the room. It had a blank flip chart and a permanent marker pen that reminded Sophie of school. "Well, I'm Andy. It's great to meet you all. Can you introduce yourselves to me with a brief bio?" He then proceeded to make each candidate stand up and state their names and a brief background history. When it was her turn, Sophie omitted the part about being separated to one of the most well-known Midlands strikers, but did tell everyone about her status as an English student. "Of course, the American universities are huge compared to your little English ones, but then everything in the UK is tiny. I suppose you guys call it quaint?" He laughed, while everyone remained silent. Andy then proceeded to explain about his reasons for coming to the UK. It seemed he had been headhunted by a top London agency who had put him forward for the job as Human Resources Manager. "I was chosen from 10 strong candidates. They practically begged me to take the position. I have a basic salary of 70k plus bonuses and a bigger company car than the managing director." He pointed at a portrait of a stern-looking man smoking a cigar. "That's him." His voice dropped to a whisper. "Rumour is that the board want him replaced by yours truly." He pointed 2 thumbs at himself and gave everyone a cheeky wink. Sophie felt herself relaxing, with the superior realisation that Dandy Andy was a bit of a plonker. "So, can any of y'all tell me what we make and sell here at Hanley & Hanley?" There was silence and Sophie felt relieved that she wasn't the only one who hadn't done any research on the company. "You!" He pointed at Sophie.